My dear friends, this happened to a priest in his parish in Mumbai. He was transferred there as parish priest, and it was his initial months. And on Sunday, the catechism classes were going on. And he was also in charge of the catechists, being the parish priest. And so he decided to go to a particular class randomly and probably speak to them something. So he enters one class and there are young children there. And he said to himself, well, today let me speak to them about what the love of God is. And so he begins to speak and he tells these young children, have you all experienced God's love? Do you all know the love of God? Have you all felt it? And the children, of course, they were just looking at him, no answers. And so to get some answers from them and for them to understand truly what God's love is, he said, well, all of you whose parents love you, raise your hands. He said. All of you whose parents love you, raise your hands. And so many raised their hands. Now the priest's intention was to show that, see, God's love is manifested first and foremost through your parents. That was his intention. And so he asked them, all of those whose parents love you, raise your hands. Everyone raises their hands. Except two. Again he asked, come on, all of you whose parents love you, raise your hands. But those two, a boy and a girl, young, they were not raising their hands. The priest was a little bit surprised. And he thought to himself, well, these two, their parents don't love them. The catechist of the class was standing at the side of him. And quietly, the parish priest asked the catechist, why are they not raising their hands? And the catechist quietly whispered and told very briefly the story. And she said to the priest, Father, they are orphans. Right from the time of their birth, they were abandoned in the slums. And now they live in those same slums who are being raised by others. And the parish priest was taken aback. Parish priest was almost in tears. He wanted to show to these children what God's love is by saying that your parents love you. Yes, that is what God's love is, which is true. But then he said to himself, when these two children are there in this class who have never experienced the love of the parents because they have never seen their parents. And he said to himself, how am I going to explain to these two what God's love is through the love of the parents? My dear friends, today we celebrate the feast of Saints Joachim and Anne. And we call it as Grandparents' Day. But here we find the feast, that is a memorial, Saints Joachim and Anne, parents of the Blessed Virgin Mary. That's what is written here. Saints Joachim and Anne, parents of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It's not written here, grandparents of Jesus. And so we are celebrating the feast first and foremost of the parents of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I'm sure Mary experienced the love of God through her parents. And then what does Mary do? Mary in turn gives that same love not only to her parents, returns back that same love of God to her parents, but also manifests that same love to her son, Jesus. And that's why, my dear friends, one of the reasons they say that Jesus found it easier to explain what God's love is, because that is what he was taught right from a young age by her mother. Because mother experienced that love of God through her parents. Pope Francis, we know, had declared the World Day of Grandparents and Elderly, and we know last Sunday was the third edition, World Day of Grandparents and the Elderly. Of course, I'm sure Pope Francis had in mind that not all elderly are grandparents. There are many who are elderly, maybe they have not got grandchildren, or maybe they are not married, like priests, but they are elderly. And so why focus only on the grandparents? Probably that's what Pope Francis had in mind. But then let us look at the other side also. I don't know if there is any World Day of grandchildren. There is. I don't know. I don't know if there is Children's Day. This year we have November 14. I don't know if there is any World Day of orphans. We have, let alone, forget about the love and experience of grandparents, who have not experienced even the love, warmth of parents. Do we have World Day of orphans? Maybe there is, I'm not sure, at least I don't know. And so, my dear friends, today, on this day, let us remember not only parents, not only grandparents, but let us remember those children too, who do not have grandparents, and who, especially those who do not have any parents. And so, we need to reach out to these kind of people. We are sowing seeds. Well, let us not sow seeds only on those who are already privileged. But important is to sow seeds more to the less fortunate, to the unfortunate, to the underprivileged, to the unprivileged, or to the less privileged. Then through that we need to bring out fruits by sowing seeds to these people too, by showing our love to these people. Through our actions we manifest, yes, God is love, to these kind of people who have never got that opportunity to experience the love of God through their parents or through their grandparents. Let us remember these in today's Eucharistic celebration, and let us sow seeds, as I said, not just to those who are privileged, to those who already experience the love of God in different ways, but more so to these who don't get to experience God's love through parents and grandparents.